Autistic people of Reddit, what is autism really like? For me, horrible. I'm lonely. I want to be around people so much. I love talking. They taught me to talk and forgot to give me others to talk to. I want to work, but I need supervision. I hit my head on things when I'm upset. I hate that. My arms flap when I'm excited and people stare. People stare for other reasons too. And I love children and children love me. They love to talk to me and ask questions or talk to me about cartoons. I would never harm anyone, but their parents act like their child is in danger. It makes me feel like I'm a terrible person. Luckily now I'm friends with an 8-year-old and she is awesome. Loves Lego and we have a lot of talks about who is the best Disney princess. Explorers. I told her about an explorer in Lego Johnny Thunder who explored tombs, and she has suddenly decided to love the idea, and also about Doctor Who and time travel. The backseat of her car is a time machine when we go anywhere. So I guess in short, autism is lonely. It can cause a lot of pain. It's like being trapped in a body that is only half loaded. Just cause people are aware of autism or accept autism doesn't mean they will make time for those with autism. Also, I wish I could dress and shower myself and care for myself better and also go out on my own. I would go out every day. Friends make it easier. My thoughts may have been a bit broken, so hope this reads okay. I was diagnosed with Asperger's at the age of 11. I feel like I'm part of a play where everyone has the script except me. While I live a pretty normal life, I have a lot of issues with sensory sensitivity, like loud noises, bright lights, certain food tastes, smells and standing in crowds of people. These things make me feel a bit stressed out, resulting in various issues like headaches and digestive problems. While we are on the subject, certain non-autistic people have the misconception that those of us on the spectrum would lack empathy. That is simply not true. We often have a hard time to read people, but we certainly do not lack human empathy. That needed to be said. Social interactions that come to others naturally require a lot of thought and planning in my situation. For lack of a better analogy, I have mental checklists for every social event under the sun. Obsessions are amped up from non-autistic people, as are following rituals. Every night when I get home, I have dinner and watch The Simpsons. No ifs, ands or buts. I work as a chef, and my supervisor and I have a certain code word, traffic, that if I mention it out of the blue, it means I need to cool off for a few. I'm getting overloaded here. Apostrophe. I've got more to post, but I'm also working breakfast, so I'll leave it for now. My go-to analogy is to imagine being in a country where nobody speaks English and you don't speak their language. You don't have a phrase book, but you do have a translation dictionary. So you are speaking the words, but the syntax is way off, not to mention accent and pronunciation. You might think you're making sense and communicating well, but really people will be confused by you. I have high functioning autism as well as anxiety, so some of this may be the anxiety, but I find it really hard maintaining friendships at all. For example, I left one 5 years ago and haven't spoken to one of them in over a year because I quite honestly didn't know how. I also find communicating really hard. It takes a lot of effort, and I would find meeting someone new really hard with me having no idea where to go past hello and me getting a stutter is also quite likely. I don't cope well with changes from a routine. For example, I will eat the same meals each day and foods, but going off of it is really quite stressful. I'm also really bad with emotions and I rarely talk about them at all, and won't unless prompted explicitly, and am really oblivious on the whole and really can't explain it. A bit like trying to explain what left is to someone with no place to reference. A bit of another side effect is at the moment I have no school life as I don't know how to keep one. The last one I had was at school, and I wouldn't describe it as close, owning to the fact I never saw them outside of school, nor get one as I don't know how to meet people. What comes naturally to most people takes a lot of leering for me, and I always felt a step behind if not further. At the moment at least, I would love to be just a normal person and have this sort of stuff come naturally. All in all, I would say a bit lonely and frustrating when I notice. I'm quite happy most of the time, but just the smallest thing can hit and change that. I'm doing what I can to get better, but it takes a lot of effort for what is for most people as simple as writing. Unusual sup. You have just made me a really happy lady. I just created an account to respond to you. I read threads and have never felt the need to respond. I'm a 25-year-old nanny to an autistic 5-year-old. I can read him faster than anyone else can. I've learned to adapt to his needs, and with therapy and a specialist and lots of coaching, he is a very verbal child now. The stares and rude comments from strangers are very upsetting, but thankfully he is oblivious to them for now. He loves routine and used to be very obsessive about every little thing in his daily life. He has really come out of his shell in the last 2 years, but he is very selective of who can be around him. It is so nice and refreshing to see such a nice person on the internet and know that my cute little 5-year-old has the chance to one day be comfortable to talk to strangers. Thank you so much for giving me a little hope on a rough day. All the best to you. It's hard, not only socially but also in school. I can't understand what the questions are asking me because I always interpret it in another way. Especially the questions like why did the author write this? How does the author feel? Etc. I would always question if I was reading this answer correctly, and my teachers would get frustrated with me due to the excessive amount of questions I asked. Socially, I've managed to cope with my autism. I was quiet in middle school and a little bit of high school. I figured out I'm best at making myself look ridiculous in front of people. I now just laugh at myself, and I seem to fit in. However, most of the time I don't really catch on to my friends' jokes or opinions. The majority of the time most people do not notice my autism. I'm pretty good at faking it. I dropped out of school, but I'm not sure if it's because my anxiety made me unable to cope with my autism or my autism made me unable to cope with my anxiety. Anxiety is not logical, it makes no sense and it's stupid and suffocating. After wasting years of my life buried in online gaming, I got a job in retail. I learned to feign interest, make and hold eye contact, and not completely lose my shit when someone touches me or stands too close to me. I even got to a state where I was able to talk on the phone. That is where the tables turned for me. As long as my anxiety was under control, I could blend in with the NT crowd. When people push me past my emotional or physical comfort level, I start to revert back, and the autism comes seeping out. I twitch, my leg will bounce, I can't look at people, and if I keep being pushed I usually end up banging my head on things, and trying to get away from the situation by hiding somewhere quiet, cramped and dark. I don't relate to people's pain. I don't feel sympathy for anyone except my son, and even then it's only for some things. I don't feel badly when horrible things happen to people, like car accidents and cancer. I think I'm really good at looking sad, and I'll put my hand on your shoulder and tell you I'm here for you, and I will listen to you, but I don't really care. I just do what I think is expected of me. I get very agitated when plans change. I like to know exactly what is happening, where we are going, how we will get there, who will be there, what will be provided to eat and drink, and if any of those things is not as I expected, it's like someone has derailed my entire day, and I find it hard to find an alternative, or interact with a person I didn't expect to be there, because I didn't have my small talk planned out already. Certain sounds make me want to vomit out my insides, and makes it feel like my ears are bleeding. I can't stand touching cotton balls or velour and velvet fabric. I can't sleep without a blanket on me, even on 30°C+ nights. I think I need to invest in a weighted blanket. My hobbies often vary wildly, but they can last a long time and be very intense. In 5 years I went from owning a better Splendor in a 10-liter tank to a 550-liter full reef system with several $1,000s worth of equipment and another 20+ fish tanks scattered throughout the house. I dumped all that and now I'm sewing. I have enough fabric to be buried alive underneath and not be found until the smell of my rotting corpse drew the neighbor's attention. I've only had that hobby for 2 years. I've produced a significant amount since I had a child 2 years ago, though it took me a suicide attempt and a lot of help to get through the first year. It has changed who I'm as a person and how I relate to other people a lot. It helped me to lose the strict, structured routine that I had to have and replaced it with a much more relaxed one, and I finally understand love. Well, I would first like to note that it's different for everyone. I learned to have a pretty normal life with some adaptations. I had to learn to look people in the eyes when I talk to them. Didn't come naturally to me. I still don't like it when I feel uncomfortable. Now I can understand non-verbal communication pretty well, but once in a while there is that one person I just can't read. Is this your form of sarcasm? Are you angry? Pure poker face for me. Emotions can be more extreme, especially the negative ones unfortunately. There is a sudden trigger and a switch just flips. I usually take a step back and take a breather to get myself to baseline then. This also ties in with control for me. I have a hard time with unfamiliar situations/places, or if I have no way out. What's normal there? How should I behave? What if I do something wrong? What if I need a moment to myself? Where do I go? I would love to travel, but everything about it can get me into a panic. But once I'm there and have assigned a spot as my place to collect myself, I'm fine. Getting there is the hard part. I also want to be really sure someone likes a present. I'm horrible at giving a gift without them knowing what it is. I only not check if they would like it if there is no doubt in my mind that they would love it. Last thing I can come up with is sensory filters. Filtering useless info is exhausting, and I feel lucky I can even do that, even though it costs me extra energy. A club is a nightmare, way too loud and too many people and lights. On the flip side, when it's super quiet my mind focuses on the background hum, equally distracting. That's why I usually put on something from here. I love that I can customize every soundscape. Still day to day, live is just a lot of info input and I need some time alone, so my mind can process it all and dump the useless garbage. I'm fine as long as I don't go to intentionally overstimulating places and make sure I get enough rest. Imagine you just started a new job, but you didn't get any on-the-job training. The company has a very different work ethic to what you're used to. The environment is different. The people are unapproachable. Everyone seems to know what they're doing but you. Nobody seems to accept that you don't know what you're doing. They just get irritated with you. It's assumed that you can just ask people for help if you're struggling, but everyone is scary to approach and makes you feel inadequate. That's what it's like for me anyway. It's really lonely to be desperate to go out and be with people, but at the same time, have no idea how to interact with them. Left out of every conversation. Completely ignored. The benefits are basically being able to concentrate on anything and really excel at it. Also not falling apart in an emergency because the emotions of the situation don't really come into play.